What's going on, guys? Today I'm gonna teach you how to polish. For today's example, we're gonna talk about two-stage paint correction. So two-stage paint correction involves a compounding stage and a polishing stage. Now, as you see here, compounding leaves kind of a white, hazy finish. And as we move into the polishing side, we get a nice deep black finish. And I'm gonna show you how to achieve those results right now. One thing I really want to make sure that we mention for when we're doing the polishing and the compounding stage is that with our pads, we always blow them out with compressed air. Now, after every pass, we blow them out with compressed air, and the reason we do that is because it keeps the pad cool, and all that clear coat, all the gunk, and all that stuff that you're putting into the pad when you're compounding or polishing is gonna get removed when you blow it out. Now, if you keep polishing with all that stuff in there, your pad's gonna get gummed up, it's gonna get really hot, and that's what we don't wanna have happen, because then we're gonna see a reduction in the amount of scratches and swirls that we're removing in the compounding stage or the polishing stage. So now let's talk about another important step, priming your pad. We talk about priming microfiber cutting pads. So this one hasn't been primed yet, there's no product on here. Now the difference between this and a foam pad is this one gets primed extra thick. And the reason being is because we want all of these fibers to be covered in compound. So with priming our pad, I like to just spin it around. Alright, get it on there nice and thick. Alright, and now we're going to take our fingers and we're just going to work it in here. Alright, this is really difficult to do one-handed, but that's okay. So you just want to really make sure that all the fibers in this pad are getting covered. Because if they aren't, and you have dry microfibers that are cutting, that's going to leave really bad and difficult marks to get out of the paint. So now I've got that all done, and now the pad is primed and you're ready to compound. You don't need any clay lubricant, any pad conditioner, anything like that. The pad is nice and primed, ready to go. So one more thing I want to make sure that you guys know is make sure you put the pad in the center of your backing plate. If you don't, it's gonna spin funny, but if you do, it's gonna spin nice and smooth. The first step in a two-stage correction is called compounding. Now, compounding is very good at removing the deeper scratches, but it's not very good at leaving a nice refined finish. So we've got the panel cleaned and we've got it clay barred, so we're ready to polish. We've got our pad primed and we've got it nice and clean. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna blow it out one more time. Okay, we're gonna grab our compound and add 3 drops. 1, 2, 3. And then we're just gonna work this in. And it's gonna take us more than once. It's probably gonna take us even more than twice because this is really bad, but you know, that's just the way that she goes. Sometimes she goes, sometimes she doesn't. Okay, so instead of making you guys listen to the polisher just revving its engine right over me talking, I'd rather just explain kind of what's going on here. So I'm at speed setting 4 and I'm using medium pressure. I'm not pushing down on the panel, but I am using a little bit of force on the polisher itself. Now you'll see me checking the panel here, and what I'm doing for is I'm checking for heat. I want to make sure that the panel is warm to the touch but not hot. If it's hot, that's going to stop us from getting a nice ability to cut out the deeper scratches, and that's kind of the whole purpose of this whole compounding stage. So we really need to focus on keeping temperatures cool, and we need to make sure that we're working the compound in, and basically we're waiting for it to kind of become translucent. And when it becomes translucent, it gives us the ability to see behind the compound and find any deeper scratches that are remaining in the paint. So what I'm going to do here is pull this away, and I'm going to talk about what I call looking behind the compound and polishing haze. Okay, So this is going to give you guys a better idea of what I mean by the scratches that are behind the compounding haze. Now see how on the top of your screen that looks really nice and uniform, and then when you come down towards the bottom of the door, you notice how you can see lots of individual scratches. You can obviously see lots of swirls, but that's what we want to see. But look at all the scratches. Now that's what we're looking for when I talk about looking behind the compounding haze to try and find scratches to attack. Now those, I'm comfortable in saying that I just didn't get to the bottom of the door good enough. So that's just going to be a matter of me going back and cutting it again. But if you get into a situation where you get really deep ones, then it's going to be a matter of how far do you want to take it. But you guys can see what I'm talking about here. Scratches like these ones on the bottom here, right? Alright, now if you could feel that panel, I know that you guys can't obviously, but if you could feel that panel, it doesn't feel hot to the touch. It's warm, but it's not. It's normal. Alright, now you see how uniform that hazing is? This is compound hazing, and this is exactly what we want to see. Now, individual scratches like this one here, and these ones here, I don't know if you guys can see those. But those ones, I mean, it's kind of a how far do you want to go type deal, right? But if you look at the rest of this is very uniform. Very nice. There's not a ton of these remaining, which is what we don't want to see. We want to see this, but nice and even throughout the whole panel, and that's what we're seeing here. The second stage to a two-stage paint correction is polishing. Now, polishing will remove the compounding haze, and it will restore the depth, the clarity, and ultimately the gloss that the vehicle and the paint once had when it was originally painted. So now what we're going to do is talk about priming the polishing pad and getting ready for polishing. When we prime a foam pad, the purpose of priming the foam pad is just to get it wet, not to get it soaked like the microfiber cutting pad. So with this one, all we're going to do is just kind of spread it out evenly. I really didn't mean to do that. And then we're just going to work it in. Okay? And you'll see that this doesn't look anything like the microfiber cutting pad in terms of how much polish and compound, well, I guess I should just say polish that we've got on here. But this is all that it needs. That's it. So it's not soaked, it's just wet enough, right? And then that's primed. You're ready to polish with that without having to use any pad conditioner. Okay, so we have the area compounded, so now we're ready to polish. We've made sure that we've got it, compounded as best as we can. So we're gonna prime our pads. When I'm polishing this, I'm gonna be on speed 4, which I know is gonna scare some people. And the other thing I'm gonna do is put even, pretty firm pressure on the panel. Now that's gonna sound pretty scary to most people who are used to doing just the cross hatch up and down type thing. But I find with this, it's much easier to get a smooth finish throughout the entire panel without inducing any little tick marks, because the pad is evenly distributed throughout the panel, right? That makes sense. So anyways, I got my pad primed. I'm gonna put some 3 little dots here again, right? Okay. And let's get to work. Sometimes when polishing the paint, we don't quite get the finish that we want, whether we see micro swirling still or we see tiny little tick marks. So how about we discuss that a little bit more in depth and what causes those kind of issues. It's going to be very difficult to see this on the camera, so please bear with me. But this is for very refined finishing. Now in this shot, you're going to see some very faint micro swirling. Now that is not compounding haze that's left over. That's either a pad or a polish that was too aggressive while polishing. And that means that we've left micro swirls in the paint, and it could potentially show up in the sunlight. So what we're gonna have to do is step down in aggressiveness, whether that's a softer pad or a softer polish. Now in my case, I just went with a softer pad and that's what worked for me, but it's different for different vehicles. All right, just like that, you have a super duper freshly polished black panel. And I didn't do it the way the traditional people do it, but I mean, I still achieved pretty solid results. And I'm gonna take you guys in here with the sunlight and I'm gonna show you what this looks like finished. All right, so here's what that panel looks like now that we've finished polishing it. And don't worry, I'm gonna bring you guys over to what it looked like before right about now. So there's our before. And there's our after. Sweet.